I'm pleased to have received the call today to address, in substance, the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Bill 2020. I commend to those listening at home and those reading this speech at a point in the future the contribution of the member for Malvern, Liberal leader O'Brien, the member for Brighton, the member for Murray Plains, and other colleagues who will speak after me. They have addressed this bill in substance, and they have drawn this House's attention to the fact that this bill seeks to once again undermine the very foundation of our state's democracy. And this bill seeks to restrict the very freedoms that we in this state hold so dear. And every single one of those government members opposite, every single one of them, are complicit in not stopping the Premier, his COVID cabinet cabal, and those very small few unelected bureaucrats from doing anything more than restricting our freedoms in this state. Every single member opposite, every single government member is either complicit by what they have done to enable the Premier and his cabinet to undertake these restrictions on our fellow Victorians, or they are complicit by the fact that they have actively engaged and cooperated and agreed to restrict the freedoms of Victorians. Acting Speaker, I wanted to today, in addressing this bill, draw the House's attention, draw every member's attention to some of the stories coming out of my own electoral district of Sandringham that I have the great privilege and the great honour to represent in this place. Recently I received an email from a local school principal. He said to me, "Hi Brad, quote, I hope you're doing well and surviving another week of lockdown. With the announcement of the continuation of remote learning, I, like many people, was very hopeful that our Year 6 students would return to school at the start of next term, as this will be their final term of primary school. I've been contacted by many families who have had similar feeling. I was hoping you would be able to support us to push to allow these students to return to school from week 2, October 12, so that we can help them for as long as possible on site for term 4. He then goes on, Acting Speaker, to draw attention to the health and wellbeing concerns that he has for his Year 6 students. I received an email from a group of Year 12 students who were in a performance ensemble, Raven, Juliet, Lali, Tamerlan and Isabel, who I met with yesterday virtually to understand their circumstance directly. They write to me, they say, quote, we are concerned about our opportunity to fulfil our potential and to demonstrate our very best performance as a group, as we cannot adequately prepare for our performance exam. Currently, as of the 8th of September, we have 33 days until our exam, 30 of which are due to be spent in lockdown. This performance exam, they write, is worth 50% of our study score. They then go on to write, Acting Speaker, we're wondering if there's any way that you could suggest that we would be allowed to rehearse. We do not want to fly in the face of the restrictions. We want to ensure that the safety of everyone is still upheld. So we're asking if you could help us to find a solution as an alternative, please. Acting Speaker, these Year 12 students, they're 17, 18-year-old girls in a music ensemble with their life at their feet, their life ahead of them. They are pleading with me as their local member. They are pleading with the government to find a solution. I received another note from a Mentone general practitioner and local mother who says to me, quote, since term 3, I have seen many parents and teachers as a GP. Without exception, everyone is upset about how damaging remote learning is to students of all ages. Parents see the low morale and reduced motivation. Teachers just want to get back to the classroom. She goes on. Since the roadmap announcement, there is a noticeable drop in mood and morale of students. I've seen this as a GP and as a parent. My children and their friends now know that they probably won't go back until 2021. They know that aiming for average cases of 5 a day before step 3 occurs is simply too unlikely. Remote learning reflections my grade 6 son wrote for a school task. And then she goes on to quote her grade 6 son. And her grade 6 son writes, "I'm sleeping more than usual because I don't feel good. I have trouble getting up in the morning now. I used to get up really early and look forward to the day. I want to go back to school. I miss my friends." His mother then goes on to write, who's not only his mother but also a local GP. "He gets stomach aches and headaches now. This is new." She goes on, "I know of at least one teenage suicide in our local area. Key factors with increased family pressure during lockdown." Helen, a local Mentone mum, writes, "She's a mum doing her best, but she's not a trained educator. She emailed me very recently saying, 'I had to take 3 days off to recalibrate this week. Other parents are suffering as well. Please help.' I had a note yesterday from Kathy, a Hampton resident. She says to me, 'I have 4 children. 2 are suffering depression. I can get to one, but not to the other. I'm spending time on the phone now as a direct result of this ridiculous total lockdown, trying to talk to my daughter up because she says, quote, she's over it and wants out of here. I can't go to see her because getting some letter to go there would put her through more trauma than the current position she's in.' She goes on, I can see my son now and again, but he is suffering too, being locked up after months. He lives with his father, who suffers with schizophrenia and who also needs visits but doesn't have a technical carer. If they didn't have the odd visit from me, it would be rather hard for them. I can't possibly be the only one with these stories." In the Herald Sun today, Acting Speaker, a letter was published by Tony. He writes directly to the Premier, "Dear Mr Andrews," he says, "do you realise the impact your harsh measures are having on all of us older Victorians? We have virtually lost a year of our lives, which at our age is critical, as we don't have that many remaining." He says, "We can't play golf with our friends. We sit on a park bench in fear of being fined. We can't have a beer with our mates at the RSL. We can't join other grey nomads on our annual caravan journey. We can't see our children and grandchildren. We sit alone on Mother's Day and Father's Day. We hear you pontificate every day, but the clock is slowly ticking down for us." And then, Acting Speaker, there are the stories coming out of businesses, local businesses. Just yesterday I heard from Jack, a local Cheltenham trader, who said to me, "I just want to express how unfair the recent business support package announced by the Victorian Labor government is. My business, and thousands of others, I imagine, are not eligible for support as it is not registered with WorkCare. The business is essentially, his business, is essentially a one-man band with some assistance from a contractor periodically. And I feel is too small to register. A grant of $5,000 to $10,000 are very meaningful for these small business operators." Another story of a local business. In Southland, in Cheltenham, the local Snitz restaurant. The business was told that in fact, because they were located in a food court, it needed to close. But only after seeking legal advice and searching through government gazettes and stay-at-home directives, it was clarified that in fact they could run a takeaway service. Now, I've written to the CHO about this, I've written to the Health Minister about this. This is weeks ago and we still haven't heard a response. Acting Speaker, I've got 27 seconds left and I've got many more examples of the effect, the real effect, that the decisions by the Andrews Labor government, by their cabinet and the small group of unelected departmental bureaucrats are having on the day-to-day lives of residents of the Sandringham district. And what this bill seeks to do is give them more power. Well, we will not give them more power, and we will certainly be voting against this bill.